It is. Well, there's a lot of dick jokes in it, by the way. There is. In fact, when we were writing the book, at the end of it, we did a search all, like an Apple F, and we put the word dick in there, and there's 16 instances of the word dick in my book.
Hi, I'm Andrew Trendle. You're watching NME. We're here this morning with Mr. Mark Hoppus.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
It's great. Lovely day in London. Sun's out. Came from LA where it's cold and rainy, which is the opposite of what I normally experience. Come here. Went to Kew Gardens yesterday in the sunshine. Saw beautiful plants. Walked around the city. Saw my book in a store. It's great.
Well, you brought the heat with you. It's the hottest day of the year today in London.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You used to live in London, right?
Did, for 3 years. Loved it.
So what do you do in London now as a former resident?
Literally going to Kew Gardens yesterday was the first time that we've gone there. We lived here for 3 years, and it's such a beautiful place. I don't know why we didn't spend more time there. But when we come to London, we would normally go out to a nice dinner, or we walk through the parks, which is always awesome. I could show you around the city. I know this city very well now.
What's your favorite British pastime?
Favorite drinking? No, favorite British pastime. I don't know. Spending time outdoors. In Southern California, you're inside, and then you get in your car and you drive somewhere, and then you get out and you go inside. And you don't spend a lot of time outdoors for how beautiful Southern California is. And I actually spend more time outdoors in London than I do back home in LA.
Yeah, I don't think people appreciate how much green space London has.
It does. You have great green space here. You have great parks. You have great architecture, great history.
Well, another place you should go to is the Design Museum.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been. I've got you a present. Lower your expectations. So I was in the Design Museum at the weekend.
Okay.
And they have a Tim Burton exhibition going on.
Oh, rad.
It's really, really cool. So it's like his design and how he does stuff.
Okay.
And I saw these in the gift shop, and I was like, we'll get onto this in a second. But I was in I was reading the book, and these felt like they were very much in the same cinematic universe of the book. So I know you collect dots, and they're just postcards. You could use them as bookmarks or something. But these seem like
that's so cool.
Very in keeping.
That's rad. This Ramones looking one. That's cool. And then this one says, "My name is Jimmy, but my friends call me the hideous penguin boy." It's awesome. These are rad. Thank you.
But they felt like they were very much in the same cinematic universe as Fahrenheit 182, available in all good bookshops and some bad.
And mediocre shops as well.
And on the internet, which is a mixed bag. Same kind of universe. Loneliness, joy, goofiness, all wrapped up in a kind of sense of rock and roll and like a gothic curtain.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a high compliment. I appreciate it.
Here's my copy, as you can see. Very well read. You should do the same. What can you tell us about the need you felt to kind of get everything down and the compulsion and what you got out of it?
For years, my manager, Gus, has said, you should write a book. And I really love writing. I like trying to agonize over which words best describe the thoughts that are in my head. But I didn't think I had a book in me. And then when I was diagnosed with cancer, I wrote to get all the dark thoughts out of my head. And I found it very therapeutic to write about that. And on the other side of cancer, I was very thankful to be alive. And I was I need to tell the story of Blink-182 from my perspective, and how much I love this band, and how much I love my bandmates, and the experience, and the highs and the lows, and everything. And so I started writing, and I wrote a whole bunch about my family and things like that. And I started working with my co-writer, Dan, and he read everything that I'd written, and he said, "This is really great writing, I love your voice, but nobody cares about your family. People want to know about the band, they want to know about Blink," and it really focused me. And so then I dove into the history of the band, why I love it, the things we've gotten to do, and kind of started rolling with it. And it's been a really joyous experience.
Well, that's one thing that comes out of it is it seems like you're Blink-182's biggest fan.
I probably am. I've been to every single show. I'm the only person in the world that's been to every single Blink-182 show.
That's true. Did you get a badge?
I should get a tattoo.
How did Tom and Travis react? Revisiting this history through your eyes, seeing themselves through your eyes.
They've been super supportive from day one. I think that they're like my brothers. So when I said I was writing a book, they said, great. Travis has a memoir that he'd written, and Tom's written a bunch of books and things like that. So when I said I was going to write it, nothing but support and love.
And you don't hide anything.
No, you know what? I feel like this book, for decades, I've not told stories, or I felt like, it wasn't my place to say, or whatever, and I really prefer to be a little bit more reserved and private, as outgoing and as ridiculous as I am. But talking about how I felt about things, and arguments that our bands have had, and struggles that I've had, to put it all out there into the world feels kind of cathartic and healing, and I don't know, even putting out the bad stuff feels joyous to me.
Well, that's it. It's not a book of dick jokes.
It is. Well, there's a lot of dick jokes in it, by the way. There is. In fact, when we were writing the book, at the end of it, we did a search all, like an Apple F, and we put the word dick in there, and there's 16 instances of the word dick in my book. Which
might be a record for a rock star biopic, apart from maybe Tommy Lee. Don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Or, Herman Melville's book.
And that's the nice thing. So a lot of the book is you wrestling with this notion that people see you as a comedy band. Mm-hmm. But you guys take everything so seriously, in the sense that you'll live or die for Blink.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we work really hard and meticulously and try and write the best songs that we can and put on the best show that we can, but we get up there and we're just ourselves. And, when Tom and I get microphones in front of us, we just turn into idiots, and we try and outdo one another with who can say the more ridiculous thing. But at the heart of it, we really work hard to create what I consider art.
What the book is good at is kind of going right back to the start, and literally on like page 7 or page 8, you say, this is how I am. This is the reason I am how I am. You don't have to read the rest of the book.
Right.
And you talk about how your parents' divorce kind of cast that shadow, and you were kind of the middleman, the middle kid, and playing the mediator, the peacekeeper, the glue in the middle of everything, or that's how you saw yourself. And that's very much what a bassist is as well, right?
Totally. The way that I grew up, trying to mediate between my parents during their divorce, and the person that I am at heart, where I try and grab different things and have them make sense together, is exactly what I love about playing the bass guitar. It's the bridge between the rhythm of the drums and the melody and the voice of humans and guitars, and the bass kind of glues it all together and lays the foundation for it. And that's kind of how I feel in my band is, Tom is over here doing his thing, and Travis is like this amazing X factor that comes in and does all this stuff, and I feel like I'm hopefully the glue that kind of binds it all together.
And let's talk about meeting Tom. So he had a very similar kind of childhood to you, and the way you describe it in the book is quite nice. You show up, you chat, you have the same humor, the same story, the same interests. You write Carousel on the spot pretty much. It kind of felt like he was waiting for you.
Yeah, it was strange because literally the day that I met Tom, he asked if I had an idea for any song ideas, and I played him something on my bass, and his face lit up and he said, "Oh my gosh, I'm working on a song that sounds almost exactly like that." It was even in the same key. So within days of meeting one another, Tom and I had basically written the same song. And when we got in the room, we had the same sense of humor, and we liked the same bands and skateboarding and everything else, and it felt like it was supposed to be.
Mm. But then there's the other side of him that's kind of like dogged, determined, workaholic, always chasing, which you sort of describe as a blessing and a curse, and what keeps Blink going in many ways, but also kind of what almost tore Blink apart in some way.
Yeah, Tom is very driven and enthusiastic about whatever it is that he's into right then. And that's the beauty of Tom, is he will come at you one day and you don't know what it's going to be. Sometimes he's excited about this thing, or it's about this thing, and that can also veer off into his other interests. He's really into directing movies and writing scripts and developing those different ideas. And I think that when the band reformed, one of the key things was that we all love Blink-182. That's the core of everything that the three of us do. But we also have different interests, and Travis is into producing a bunch of different bands and working on different projects, and Tom does the same thing, and I like to do other things as well. But when we come together as a band, that's when real awesome things happen. When the three of us get in a room, good shit happens.
When the Blink train derailed from the train track, it was very much that's because Blink wasn't people's priority at the time.
Yeah, being in a band is very difficult. It's a joy, and it's awesome, and Blink is amazing. But you start this band when we were teenagers, just out of high school, just in college. We had nothing but the band. We would leave on tour in a van, and we'd be gone for months at a time, and we didn't have any cell phones, we didn't have girls back home, we didn't have anything. We were just all that we cared about was this band. And then you grow up and you meet somebody and you fall in love and you get married and then you have a mortgage and then you have kids, and then you're like, well, you know, Tom at the time was like, I want to be at home with my wife and my daughter. And Travis and I were like, well, we love our wives and our kids, but we want to be on the road. And so there's that friction. And if you think about the people that you were friends with in high school, like, you know, when you're in your 30s, are you still friends with them? Do you still have the same goals, the same dreams? And I think that point of friction was when the band broke up for the first time. And then you realize that, yeah, people have different priorities, but creatively, Blink-182 is what we all love.
Well, that's it. Your kind of pure love of Blink seems to remain the constant throughout the book. The same way when you're playing like sweaty garage shows and house parties at the start, and there's a point where Tom's talking about side projects, and you say, why would you want to do anything apart from Blink?
Right.
Blink is life.
Yeah, you know, and that's just one of the things that I had to come to terms with and understand, because I always thought that everything creatively that I did musically would be with Blink-182, and you know, Travis was always committed to Blink-182, but he would also go and do bands like Transplants, or he would work with Expensive Taste or things like that. And then when Tom went off to do something else, it was a little strange to me, because that was kind of the first time that Tom was like, well, I'm going to do something musically without you. So I felt hurt by that and didn't really understand it. And then when he enlisted Travis and like management and agents and things like that, then I felt really left out. And so that kind of left me with an identity crisis of, well, if Tom wants to go with Travis and do a whole different band, then what am I in this equation? And it took me a long time to come to terms with that. So yeah, that was hard, but we're all on the other side of it now.
Exactly. And Travis, again, seems like another kind of solid, steadying presence throughout.
Yeah, Travis is always there. Like, you know, Travis is laser focused on, like, he has ambition and drive like nobody else that I've ever seen in my life. He is going to be one of the greats in music for sure. Just because he has that, whatever it is that like LeBron James has, or, you know, Steve Jobs has, or somebody like that, who is so driven and focused on what their goals are and working hard to achieve it. You know, for me, I need days where I don't do anything. Like, I'll have days where I just like sit and look at my phone for half the day, and I'm like, well, what have I done that for? And that doesn't happen with Travis. Travis is like working out or in the studio or doing this or building a company or that kind of thing. But he loves Blink so much and has been there, you know, for so long that that's a huge part of his identity as well.
Yeah, he seems sort of like the ultimate rock star, but I can imagine just like drinking green tea, reading.
Yeah, Travis is the ultimate rock star, but like, you know, I feel like he did all of his wild years in the beginning, but like intelligently and more focused than just like a rock star where you just like blah, and go crazy and whatever. Travis is always working towards something.
Yeah, and Blink is more than the sum of its parts, of course.
Yes, of course. Blink is way more than the sum of its parts. Blink is way more than what I bring to it or anything. It's when the three of us get together, there's a push and pull in the music and in the room where when we're all firing, it's magic. It's unlike anything else. It's like watching fire start.
Yeah. You still have your own accents as well. I mean, there's a point at the start of the book where you pick up the bass and you say, still decades later, I still don't think I have a very good technique. But I think you're a great bassist.
Thank you.
I remember being at school when me and my mates were getting into bands. All the bassists either wanted to be Mark Hoppus or Flea, you know, two very different sides.
Huge compliment. Yeah. No, I don't. I think I'm a good bassist. I think that I write really cool bass parts. But as far as technicality and like being able to run scales and things like that, like I don't have that technical ability. But I think I have an ear for what helps a song, and I can play well live, and I can put it all together. But like I didn't learn how to play bass by a teacher. I learned by like listening to punk rock bands and trying to play along with them. But I think that also, and playing in Blink-182, where there's just one guitarist, one bassist, and one drummer, I kind of play a combination of bass as a rhythm guitar, because Tom can go off and do leads, and then I can kind of lay more of a foundation underneath that. That's more than just a simple bass part. It's almost a rhythm guitar / bass. But I wouldn't say that I'm a very technical bass player.
But maybe it's that. Maybe the reason there's still kids that want to be Mark Hoppus is that freedom. You know, the same thing like Hooky from New Order has the same thing. He's is he playing the bass? What's he doing? You know?
Yeah, totally. No, and you know, I grew up listening to New Order as well, and Peter Hook is a huge inspiration. Like what he did at the beginning of Ceremony is just one of the most beautiful bass parts I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. That's what I like the bass, and that's what I like in music as well.
But it was Simon Gallup from The Cure. The
Cure, yeah. Simon Gallup was the one. Like when I heard The Cure for the first time, it was Just Like Heaven on Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and it changed my life. Listening to The Cure made me want to play bass. Simon Gallup and his bass lines and I don't know, he just always looked so cool, and just like his head was down, his hair was all up, and just rocking out. Rock God.
And then you became close to Robert Smith, maybe a little too close.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a dream come true to like grow up idolizing The Cure, having, you know, I could sing you every single lyric from, you know, Three Imaginary Boys up through Blood Flowers, word for word, and then having Robert Smith on one of our songs, and then performing with him, and having him know even who our band was, is just beyond compare.
And then take us back to that night. You're face to face with Robert Smith post Wembley. He's inching closer and closer.
No, it was awesome. It was so cool. We'd played Wembley, and Robert Smith had come out, and he sang all of this, which he had done on our record. And that was a dream come true. Playing in London at Wembley, sold out show, Robert Smith on stage with us. And then, you know, we covered Boys Don't Cry, and he sang it, and we were backstage, and we were all hanging out. And I was like, hey, man, I went over to give him a hug and say, thank you so much. This means the world to me. That you're here, and I really appreciate it, and I wanted to give him a hug, and he like was trying to kiss me, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? And I kind of backed off, and he's like, no, do it proper. And I was literally like holding my wife's hand, and we were in a packed room at an after party at a show, and I was like, and then we get in the car, and I was like, wait, did that just happen? And we're driving away, and my wife's like, oh, what a dream come true for you. And she's like, what's wrong? Why are you acting so weird? I'm like, did you not see Robert Smith just try and kiss me? And she's like, nah. And so I was literally like, did that really happen? I was laying in my bed at the hotel until like the wee hours of the morning, and I called my drum tech, and he just answers the phone, and he's laughing. And I'm all, so you saw that, right? He goes, Robert Smith trying to kiss you? Oh yeah, I saw that. And looking back, I wish I would have done it. It would have been a much better story than it almost happened.
Do you think Sky would have been cool with that?
I don't know.
There's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll get your chance?
Nah. No, but it's cool. Like, you know, we've seen him many times since, and he's always so gracious and such a rad guy. And like, we played a festival with him, and I forget where in Europe a few years ago. And like somebody came back and they're like, hey, Robert wants to see you. And I was like, oh, shit, yeah. So I went and hung out in his dressing room, and just, you know, they say never meet your heroes, but Robert Smith was definitely an awesome person.
Well, that's what's cool about the book, is there are so many holy shit we've made it moments. But whether it's like playing that first house party, or getting onto NoFX's bus, or Robert Smith making out with you, they seem to be all on the same level.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we started Blink, our biggest goal in the whole world was to sell out a small club in San Diego called Soma. And the big room at Soma, like the big time for us, was 1,200 people. And when we sold out that room in like whatever it was, 95, I thought we'd made it. Like, we played the biggest punk rock club in our hometown. What else is there? And then you go on and you get signed to a label, and then you get signed to a major label, and then you have your song on the radio, and then you're playing larger venues. And I mean, even this past year, we were selling out stadiums in Los Angeles and Boston and New York and all these places. And I'm like, holy hell, this is our band that we started in Tom's garage.
Yeah. But the other weird thing about the thing people might forget is that this was the age of grunge when you guys were coming up. That was the dominant thing, flannel shirts and misery.
Yeah.
It must have seemed like a completely alien concept that you'd become the biggest band in the world.
Are we the biggest band in the world?
Well, if you were, you are.
We have a number one album. We've had
festival headliner stadium.
Yeah,
bands,
totally. Yeah.
Number one albums.
Then I'll take it. Yes, we are the biggest band in the world.
There you go.
But sorry, what was the question about it?
It must have seemed so alien that like a pop punk band.
Oh yeah,
three skate kids.
Especially coming out of San Diego, because at that time in the early '90s in San Diego, it was the new grunge, and you know, it was these cool bands. It was Drive Like Jehu and Rocket from the Crypt and all these like San Diego grunge bands, but there was also this punk rock kind of underground where all the kids were going. All the cool clubs were 21 and up, But all the punk rock kids went to Soma, the all ages club, and that was really where we kind of felt at home.
And then 5, 7, let me count, 5, 6, 7. Within 6 years, I mean, Green Day are opening for you.
Yeah, that was very strange because I grew up listening to Green Day. When I first started playing bass and I heard Green Day for the first time, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I literally waited for the day that Dookie came out and was in line waiting to buy Dookie, and huge fan of the band. And then we're touring with them. And just at that point, there was just a weird thing where Green Day was kind of dipping at the time and Blink was ascendant. And, we were headlining above Green Day. We were billed as co-headliners, but we were closing every night. And that was a strange situation for us because headlining over your idols is a little strange.
But you said it created some tension. Would you think it was, looking back, was it more of like a friendly competition, do you think?
It was more, yeah, totally. It was a friendly competition, at least for us it was. We showed up and we thought we were cool. We had a #1 record, and, Take Off Your Pants and Jagged had just gotten #1. We were the first punk band to ever have a #1 record. Green Day was kind of on their way down for a little bit. And we walked in thinking we were hot shit, and Green Day walked in ready to fight. Musically, they were super cool to us the whole time. My wife and Billy's wife were great friends. My wife was pregnant at the time. Billy's wife befriended her and kind of took her under her wing, and Billy was super nice to us. But when it came to time to get on stage, it's like athletes, we can be on different teams as athletes, but when it comes time to get on the field, we're going to try and kick your ass. And we didn't come with that attitude, but I think that they did. And then they blew us off the stage the first few nights. We were like, oh shit, we have to up our game. And then it was kind of like this battle back and forth of who could put on the better show and who could win people over, and definitely made us a better band.
And then, as you say in the book, 2 years later, we got American Idiot. So.
Yeah, so, I think that I inspired them so much that they were like, we have to kill Blink-182 with an awesome album called American Idiot.
To take responsibility for American Idiot, that's pretty amazing. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And also the capture of Saddam Hussein, that's pretty sweet.
I did. I saved the world from Saddam Hussein. We were performing for the troops in the Middle East, and we were on an aircraft carrier, and we performed in the aircraft hangar of an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf while we were at war. And I was sitting down with an admiral of the fleet after dinner before we were going on stage, and I said, hey, before I go on stage, I have an idea of how we can capture Saddam Hussein. And he laughed at me. But then I said, so I have this idea. You kind of know where he's at. And he used to release these videotapes to his followers. And he would put a flag up behind him, and he'd look into the camera and he'd say, rise up against the American dogs, or whatever it was that he would say. And then he'd release the tapes. And I said, okay, if you have an idea where you think he might be, why don't you fly drones or aircraft in grid patterns, blasting as loud as you can, time code, above the range of human hearing, but within the dynamic range that will get captured on a video cassette. And then when he releases his videos, you can take the audio portion and extract the time code and triangulate where he might be. And the admiral kind of looks at me like, the hell? And he says, you know what? I'm actually meeting at the Pentagon with the Joint Chiefs of Staff next week, and I might bring up your idea. And then 4 months later, they had captured Saddam Hussein, so it must have been me.
Where's your statue?
You know what? I don't need that. It's, just knowing that I saved the world is medal enough.
Well, that's it. You say you're probably going to be known for a few things. You said you probably the Go Trig Boy line from American Pie.
Yep.
The Naked Band from What's My Age Again.
Yeah.
And, the guy who told the world he had cancer on Instagram.
Yeah. So I had cancer. That happened.
Yeah.
And when I got cancer, when I was diagnosed, I didn't really tell anybody outside of my family and my very close group of friends. And my chemotherapy that I underwent was 6 sessions, 3 weeks apart. So I'd go for one session, it'd crush my body. For 3 weeks, I'd be ailing, and then you start feeling better again, and then you get pushed down again. But every time I went for a session, I'd post on Instagram to my close friends, something positive, like, let's go, fuck cancer or whatever. And then on my 3rd round, I had just gotten a shot of Benadryl, which makes you super tired, and I was just about to fall asleep, but I thought, oh shit, I forgot to post. And so my wife took a picture of me, and I posted to my close friends saying, hello, yes, 1 cancer treatment, please. And I posted it to Instagram, and I fell asleep, and I woke up 5 minutes later because my phone was going off, and it's my friend April, and she said, did you mean to post that on Maine? And I knew what she meant. I was like, shit. But I was already starting to feel logy and awful from the drugs, so I just hit delete, and I was like, that's fine. Nobody will notice. But I had actually posted it to Maine, and that's how the world found out that I had cancer.
But then the outpouring of love.
But then, well, I didn't tell. The reason that I didn't tell anybody that I was sick was because I thought for sure when people found out that I was sick that they would laugh at me, because I'd been lucky for so long. Like, our band had gotten to do things that no band gets to do. We were on the radio and selling out huge shows and #1 albums, and every single dream that our band had came true. And I had an awesome wife and an incredible son, and I'd just been fortunate for way too long. And of course, like, the bill's going to come due, and that was going to be cancer. And I thought that people were going to say, like, well, you deserve it, basically. And that's kind of how I felt as well. So I didn't tell anybody. But then when I posted that and it went out to the world, the outpouring of love that I got from strangers, people on the internet, people that I had been friends with that had fallen out with, that hit me up and were like, hey man, like, Tom had quit the band. I hadn't talked to him for 5 years. He hit me up, not about cancer, he hit me up about a video that he was filming. And I was like, oh, hey, by the way, I have cancer. And he called me up, and it was like, healed my relationship with Tom. And at that point, I really, like, felt emboldened. And I still thought that the cancer was going to kill me, but I was like, well, the cancer's going to get me, but I'm going to go down fighting.
Yeah. And then there's a bit in the book where you say, really touching, where you say, I didn't feel like Mark from Blink anymore. I felt like a patient. I felt like a number. What can you tell us about the journey back, and what advice you'd give to anyone who might feel like rudderless?
Lean on the people that you love. That's really how it helped me. Was I leaned on my wife, I leaned on my friends, leaned on my management. All the people that are closest to me in the world, I leaned on them really hard. And it was really difficult coming back from being almost like a child again, where literally there were days where I couldn't get off the couch and people would have to bring me food and eat. And like, my wife, bless her heart, was like looking up on the internet recipes for people undergoing chemotherapy and what was good and things like that. It was hard to transition from that back to being like, I'm in a fucking rock band and I'm in Blink-182 and I'm cool and all that stuff, when literally months before that I was just like a mess on the couch, just unable to even stand up.
And did it make you feel differently about, like, past sort of suicidal ideations, like the kind you faced in Adam's song and other times you talk throughout the book? Does it make you feel differently about those thoughts when you're actually faced with death?
Yeah, it was interesting, because there's been times in my life where I've gotten really depressed and had suicidal thoughts and ideations and been like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, and just spun up in my own head and making up all these monsters that weren't there. And then when you're actually faced with death, you're like, I'm not ready to go yet. I still have a lot that I want to say and a lot that I want to do, and people that I love, and I think that you kind of see the beauty in the world less than like the things that scare you in the world. When you're like, oh man, this could be my last year on Earth. Like, what am I gonna do? On the other side of that, like now here, I'm like really thankful. I used to be like not want to do press and not want to talk about stuff and not want but I woke up today really anxious to like talk about the book and talk about things and be here in London and walk around, and I'm lucky.
And you got 2 postcards.
And I got 2 postcards. And you're talking to me about a book, and you've read the book. Like, look at this. It's like, it's cool that...
How good does that sound?
It's humbling that the process for me to heal from being sick and go through all this pain and everything else and the joy of Blink, that people want to check it out. It means a lot.
And to bounce back with a sense of vindication that, like, pop punk is huge now. Mm-hmm. You know, there's kids referencing bands that would reference you, this whole cycle. Kids discover Blink-182 free of context just because they love the songs. Do you feel vindicated? Do you feel like...
I do feel vindicated. I feel like... I've always felt like our band was special and cool because of the talent that is in our band. Like, Tom is one of the best songwriters that I've ever met. Travis has an ear and a sense of music that I aspire to. And I've always been just in awe of their abilities. And to be part of this band and to work with them, and I've always felt like we had something special that we've had to fight for. I've always felt like Blink were the underdogs. That people didn't want to like Blink, or like, you know, the gatekeepers always thought that we were the silly band or the throwaway band. But we really worked hard, and we really toured and wrote and toured and like struggled, and to to be on this side of it is really vindicating. That people who are coming to shows, it's their first concert ever, and they're coming to see Blink-182 30 years into our career. Like, what more could you ask for?
So what advice would you, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to that desert goth, as you put it?
You know, put your head down and do the work and enjoy it, because you're very lucky to get to do what you do.
And what's next? Fahrenheit 182 the movie, or new Blink album? What's
Let's go Fahrenheit 182 the movie. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Who's playing who?
Let's see. Travis would be played by MGK. Tom would be played by... who would play Tom? Someone creative and weird, and I don't know, Tom York maybe?
Chalamet?
What's that?
Timothy Chalamet?
Yeah, Chalamet, that's great. And who would play Mark Hoppus? Who's like the game show host, actor, like silly guy?
I was in the comments while we think about this.
Yeah, okay.
Who'd be your dream?
My dream? Who am I excited about right now? I don't know. I can't think of anybody. Can't think of anybody worthy to carry the mantle.
Amazing. Well, Fahrenheit 182 coming to a cinema near you.